Boker Tov. Today's daf is daf Nun Vav in Sanhedrin, as we learn for Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael and Sun Matzav V'Shivya. We'll start with the last couple of lines on Nun Hamid Beis. Hamagad, if a person curses God, blasphemer, curses God, he's chayiv. That was one of the cases that we said you're chayiv skila. Mishnah said, and where do you chayiv? Achi yifarish es Hashem. He's got to say Hashem's name specifically. What do we mean by Hashem's name? Either the Shem Adnus, like Aleph Daled Nun Yud, or Rambam says Yud Kei Vav Kei. Either one of those are the gods. We say Hashem, that's what we mean. Either the Shem Adnus, we say Ado and then Noi when we're davening or saying a whole pasuk, or the Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei, which we're not allowed to pronounce, but we call it Yud Kei Vav Kei. Those are the Shem Hashem. So you're not chayiv unless you say chayiv skila, unless you say Hashem's name. Now, what are you chayiv? What are the other names? Those are called kinuyim, like Elokim, Shakai, Tzvakos. Those names are called kinuyim of Hashem, and we'll see if you're chayiv on those later. It's going to be a machlokes. And then Amar B'Shubin Karcha, the last few words on the page. Amar B'Shubin Karcha now at the top of Nun Vav. B'chol Yom Dana Seidim. Now, when people come, what happened over here? Somebody cursed God. How did they curse God? We'll see the exact form in which they used, but they said God's name. And they cursed God. Now, when they come to the court and the Adam say, we heard him do this, you don't want to say those words again. What did he say? If you say those words, you're cursing God again, right? So you don't want to say those. So every day when in the court, when they're judging the case, they use a substitute, not a substitute name God. They just use a different name that they mean God. What is that? Kagon, they say Yaka Yossi es Yossi. First they use Yossi because Yossi is Gematria 86, which is also the Gematria of Elokim. So they use that word like Yossi, They'll say, well, it says Yaka Yossi es Yossi, because we're going to see in the Gemara that the cursing God that you're chayav for is when you say you curse God with God's own name, like God is cursing himself, so to speak. That's the only way you're chayav. Okay, so in the court, when they're just judging it, they don't use Hashem's name. They say Yossi is Hashem's name. Nigmar din. Once they want to issue the verdict, lahorgan b'kidui, they can't kill the blasphemer. They can't kill him just based on Yossi. You gotta say, well, what did he really say? Elamotzi and kol adam b'chutz. They take all the spectators outside. Showing us a god. They ask the elder of the Adam, Shebenei v'omelo, and more masha shemata. What did you really hear? Say the exact words that you heard. You heard him curse God. Word befavorish. Specifically, exactly, clearly, what did he say? And he says, if when they heard God's name being cursed, they stand up and they tear kriya. They tear kriya like an oval, and an avail is for a parent where you don't re-sew it afterwards. Then the other aid also says, Afani Kamo. You don't have the second aid repeat also cursing God, Chas v'chalila, but you just say, yeah, I heard the same thing. The Zelber, I heard the same thing. If there are other Adam, a third or a fourth, whatever, they say the same thing. And then once they hear that, then the judge pronounces the verdict of execution by a skila on the Megadif. Tana, says the Gemara, Achi Baruch Shem B'Shem. He's got to curse God's name with God's own name. In other words, he says God cursing him. And where do we get from? Amar Shmuel. Amar the pasuk like this. There are two psukim in Vayikra in Emor which say as follows. Listen carefully. First, I'm not even going to refer to Vayikra. We're going to refer to a pasuk we're going to see in a couple of lines that says Elokim Moskal, don't curse God. Don't curse God. It also can refer to Dayana, but it says Elokim Moskal, don't curse God. Then it says in the pasuk, it says this is in Perak Chavdalet of Vayikra, Pasuk Tesvav. Ish, any man. We'll see what it says. Ish. What does that refer to? Ki yekala lokov. If he curses God, v'nasav achato, he will carry his sin. It doesn't say here skill. It says he will carry his sin. He will bear his sin. Okay, that's one pasuk. Ish ki yekala lokov v'nasav v'no. We're going to deal with this pasuk. The next pasuk says v'nokev shem Hashem. And if you curse the God of the name, how do we know no cave? What does no cave mean? What is that word? No cave, bore a hole. But no cave Shem Hashem, if you curse God, well, translating it the way it really means, Mosimus will die. He will be stoned. So here you clearly see that a person who curses God, here's the punishment of stoning that we referred to in the Mishnah. And the end of the pasuk says, Kager Ezrach, like the same as for a ger and ezrach, meaning a convert or a born Jew. Binakvo shem yumas. Again, binakvo shem. It says no cave shem Hashem at the beginning of the pasuk, and it says binakvo, when he curses at shame yumas, he will die. So that binakvo shem teaches us that he curses God with God's own name. He has to say binakvo shem yumas. In other words, he has to say Hashem is cursing Hashem, or Hashem is hitting Hashem. So number one, how do you know no cave is a lashon of cursing? How do you know means cursing at all? So you know how the Chassidus says, what did Bilam say? Ma'akov lo kabo kale, right? What I want to curse, God will not curse. So you see that you can't. That akov is a lashon of cursing. Where's the lo sase? Where's the prohibition? Elokim lo skalo. That's a pasuk back in Shmos. Don't curse God. Okay, the Eimer Midversu, I could tell you that Nakav is also boring a hole, right? Stabbing, piercing. The Siv, Vayikov Bedalso, he bore a hole in the door. How do you know? So how do you know maybe that? Maybe it means that if you see Hashem's name and you bore a hole through it, that's what we're talking about. Where's the Lo Saseh? It says, Ibadatem Meshmam, by the Avodah Zarah, it says you should destroy them. Lo sasun kel Hashem Elokechem. Don't do that. Don't destroy God's name. Maybe that's what it means. How do you know it's referring cursing God? Maybe it refers to destroying God's name if it's written down. There it says being ashamed, b'shem v'leka. Well, if you're just destroying God's name, that's not shame b'shem. We learned already from no cave shame. It says no cave shame, and then it says benikvo. That means you're cursing him. We're doing something else with something. You can't pierce with pierce. Curse, you can curse. You can say God curses God's name. God's cursing God, but you can't say, you can't pierce him. You can't pierce him. Shame b'shame. You can't have a double there. No, I'll tell you how. Maybe you had two pieces of paper. He had a Shem Hashem written on both. Ubazalu, and you took a knife and you bored through both of them. So who no that's not curse. That's not no cave bin no cave, right? That's not no cave bin nikvo. That's not shame b'shem. That's simply doing one after another. That's taking a knife and boring one hole and then boring another hole. That's not boring Hashem or cursing Hashem through using Hashem's name. That's taking a knife and doing it twice. And maybe it means this. Maybe you engraved the name of Hashem on the knife, ubazu, and then with the knife that you bore Hashem's name on, you bore a hole in a piece of paper, on a parchment that had Hashem's name on it. Sahu chur for the sakinu the kubaza. No, that's not Hashem's name cursing it or destroying or boring the other Hashem's name. That's the edge of the knife, which is actually doing the boring. Maybe how do you know B'chlal? Okay, fine. So maybe it doesn't mean boring. Maybe it simply means expressing Hashem's name very clearly. Rashi says with its letters and its pirushim. Maybe that's what it means. It says take these, Moshe and Aaron took these people, asher nikvu b'shemus, that were expressed by their names. Where's, maybe you're not the same, maybe that's what it's referring to. If you say Hashem's name and you express it clearly, you're chayav for that. Where's the lo sasei mihacha? Es Hashem l'kechatira. You should fear God's name. You should fear God. That means don't express his name. Just like you're not supposed to call your father by his name, because that's supposed proper respect and fear. So maybe that's what it means. Don't say Hashem's name. Well, that's a good question, but one answer is chadad being Hashem b'shem v'leka. Where's the shame b'shem? Where's the shame b'shem? Where's cursing? Where's hurting or cursing God with his own name? That doesn't work if you're just expressing it. How about the Asar Saseh? As Hashem l'kechatira is not a lo saseh, it's an aseh. The Asar Saseh, lo shmei Asar is not an asar. So you can't be punished for lo saseh, whatever the punishment is. We'll see if it's chorus or obviously we're saying here if you curse Hashem's name b'shem, that's skila. It says no nikvo, no kav Hashem rogom yugamu be'even benikvo shem yuma. So clearly you're talking about the punishment. It has to be a lav. You don't get a punishment unless there's a lo saseh. V'boy sema, or I could tell you this pasuk. It says vayikov vayikalel. It says clearly vayikov and means cursing. It says vayikov and he did this, cursed and he cursed. Let me read nokev kol. That tells you that nokev means klala. Maybe so. How do you know that? Maybe it means two different things. Maybe vayikov means he pierced or he's expressed or some other meaning. And vayikavadima adav means you got to do two different things. Maybe one is vayikalo, that's cursing, and vayikov doesn't mean cursing. I can't say that. The Chassidus says hosei as a makalo. Take out the makalo. V'lo ksev hosei as a nokev at makalo. It says nokev. If nokev means piercing or expressing or doing some other sin, and makalal is a different sin of cursing, then it should say take the makalal. That which should say take the nokev and the makalal and take him out and kill him. So since it says makalal, shma mina achari, you see that nokev is the same as makalal. So at the end of the day, it's based on the pasuk. How do we know it means cursing? Because vayikov vayikalo. But once we know that vayikov means cursing, the nokev binikvo tells me there's got to be cursing Hashem with Hashem's name. Now we get into an inyan of exactly what are the isurim for a Jewish person, what is the isurim for a goy. Now, for a goy, we're going to talk about the isurim that a goy also. It's one of the seven mitzvahs Bnei Noach is cursing Hashem, chas v'chalila, right? That you can't curse Hashem's name, you can't curse Hashem, and this will lead us into what exactly are the isurim. What are the difference between a goy and a Jew? Now, let's understand something. By a goy, the seven mitzvahs Bnei Noach, if he violates any of them, he's chayiv misa. What misa does he get? We mentioned that the other day. Hereg, sayef, right? Because it's based on shofech dam ha'adam ba'adam damo yishofech. Rashi brings it down a little bit below where we are here, and as we'll see, ba'adam damo yishofech, his blood will be spilt. Blood being spilt is not skila, is not sreifa, is not chenek. Blood being spilt is chopping off his head, right? And that there his blood will be spilt. So a goy's punishment is always sayif, or what we call, or what the Torah, or hereg, killing with, which means besayif. Okay. Now
this cursing, cursing is only in Hebrew. Is only in Hebrew.
What's in Hebrew?
The cursing, that's using God's name as a curse. Cursing God
that's
is
correct.
only in Hebrew.
That's correct. That's correct. If you say it in God, like God, that's simply a substitute of kinoi. Right. That's a kinoi. At best, it's a kinoi. It might even be less than that because it's not in Hebrew. Rashi tells us in the first of the wide lines in Rashi, the kinuyim is kagon, Elokim, Shakai, and Svakos. And those are in Hebrew. So certainly, if it's not in Hebrew, it's not considered Hashem's name. Tana Rabbanim. Let's go back to that pasuk Tes Zion, where we said Ish Ish. Pasuk says, no, Tes Vav rather. Abnei Yisrael Tarab Lemor. Ish Ish ki yikala lokov v'nasavono. So it says Ish. Matam Ish Ish. What's the explanation? So according to this Tana, a goy also has the same mitzvah of Birkas Hashem, of not cursing God. Shemusarno Birkas Hashem ki Yisrael. He is an ashara. He has a prohibition, just like a Jew. But the ain't an hargan b'sayif, but he's only killed b'sayif, right? B'sayif, which is the lashon of, that's the Gemara's lashon, sayif, the sword, meaning hereg. As we said, because it says domo yishafech, that's b'sayif. Okay. So now we're saying over here that this pasuk is teaching me that both for a Jew and for a non-Jew, if he curses Hashem, we'll see there's a difference. Curses Hashem, he's killed, right? Right. So it says, pasuk says, Ish Ish ki yikala l'kavanasa chato. Okay, he'll bear his sin. Okay, now, but what does that mean? We're going to see different interpretations. Says Gemara, first of all, do you say that by a goy, this is the source, and the pasuk over here of Ish Ish teaches me that a goy can't is prohibited to curse God? Nafka, Hashem, Zubirkas Hashem. We're going to see on Amid Beis that there's several ways to learn, but the first way we're going to bring down is that all the 7-minute mitzvahs are learned out from a pasuk in Bereshis, which says, "Vayetzav Hashem Elokim ala Adam leimor mikol eitz hagan achol tochel." And based on that pasuk, each word in that pasuk is going to teach us one of the different 7 mitzvahs Bnei Noach. So we'll see later on. There's 7 mitzvahs Bnei Noach, but just like there's really more than 7, as we'll see different pratim. There's really more than 7. Just like the Aseres Adibros, we call it the Aseres Adibros. There's more than 10 commandments in the mitzvos in the 10 commandments. It's called the 10 commandments in English. In Hebrew, it's not commandments, it's dibros. Well, you can call that commandments, but there's more. There's maybe 15 or 16, or there's more mitzvos in the Aseres Dibros here too. The Zayin mitzvahs B'nei, those are the basic 7, but there's more. Okay, so first of all, the question is, what are you learning out for that a goy can't curse Hashem from this pasuk Ish Ish? We learn it out from the pasuk of Hashem. Amar of Yitzchak, we're at the first of the white lines of the Gemara. Yitzchak Nafcha, Rav Yitzchak the Smith said, Lo nischel l'rabusa kinuyin. Oh, Rav Meir. You know what? You're right. The basic pasuk for a goy that he can't curse Hashem is Vayitzav Hashem Elokim. We're going to see on Amid Beis, the mitzvah 7 I know. But what about the kinuyin? To add on that if you use a substitute, like if you curse Hashem with Elokim or Shakai Tzvakos, Balibit or Meir, according to Meir Tanya, Ish Ki Yikal Kavanasa Acheto, that's this pasuk that we're quoting here. Mata Malomer, Valakfarnemer, Vainokiv Hashem, Shem Hashem, Mos Yumas. The next pasuk already says there, as we said, that if you curse Hashem, you'll die. What is Ish teaching me? The Fishnem, we're going to Shem Yumas Yachalo Yechayev Ela Shem Amiyuchad. Maybe it's Hashem's name, Yud Ke Vavke, or the Shem Adnus. Maybe only there Yechayev, Bavad. So Rav Meir says, why do you need two psukim? The first, the pasuk we mentioned, which is really the second pasuk, it's pasuk Tezayim. That's the Shem HaMiyuchad, and Ish is to teach me even the kinuyim also. That's what Rav Meir says. And therefore, this is for now. Understand. V'nokev Shem Hashem is that speaking about for a Jew. A Jew can't curse Hashem with this. Is not allowed to curse Hashem with Shem HaMiyuchad. How do we know kinuyim? From Ish. Okay. What about by a goy? A goy Hashem Vayitzav Hashem Elokim teaches me the basic Isser, and you're just saying now that Ish teaches me that the kinuyim also apply to a goy. That a goy uses, if he says the kinuyim, also is prohibited. We'll see if there's received by a goy who's prohibited, the only punishment is death. Now we're going to see a difference though, maybe for a Jew, different punishments for the kinuyim. That's all Rav Meir Shita. So Revis Laknafel says we're speaking about to add the kinuyim. Ish is to teach me the kinuyim, both for the Jew and for the goy. But the basic Isser of Hashem's name for a goy and for a Jew is a different pasuk. For a goy, it's Vayitzav Hashem Elokim al Adam Leimor, and Vayitzav Hashem Elokim al Adam Leimor. We call it to go to Chachel. And for a Jew, it's from V'nokev Shem Hashem. Then Rabbi Yitzchak goes on. V'chacham say no. Hashem Miyuchad b'Misa v'Kunim b'Azhara. He says, you know what? On the Shem Miyuchad, Shem Hashem, that's b'Misa. That's Nokev Shem Hashem Mos Yumas, and Akinuyim b'Azhara. He says, not like Rav Meir. Rav Meir says that they're both chayiv misa skila. Al-kini basara. Why? Because the Rabbanan say that ish, which is the kinuyim, it doesn't say over there mos yumas. It says ish, ki kalok of v'nasavono, carry a sin. That's a lav, punishment of kares, not a punishment of death by bezdin. Upligid Rav Maisha, and this opinion of Rabbi Yitzchak Nafka in the Rabbanan disagrees with Rav Maisha. Rav Maisha ben Noach shabir chas Hashem b'kinuyim l'Rabbanan chayiv. He says that ben Noach who cursed Hashem b'kinuyim are chayiv. In other words, the Rabbanan just said that Hashem b'yuchad b'kinuyim b'asara, and on goyim who said with the kinui, maybe they're potter. Rav Maisha says that ben Noach shabir chas Hashem b'kinuyim l'Rabbanan you're chayiv. Again, Rashi explains this. Rashi says in the wide lines, Valkinuyim Ba'asara, the fourth of the wide line, Elokim Lo Skalo, that is Afal Kinuyim Nizar, Shem Yuchanami Ba'asara Nafik, Dechol Elokim Lashon Shor Nasdichlam, Upligid Ramasha, Hadam Rav Yitzchak. I'm going on in Rashi in the fifth of the wide lines. Ham Rav Yitzchak Nafchal, the Rabbos is a Kinuyim, Balibid Rav Meir, the Mashma, Halu Rabbanan, Potter Ben Noach Al Kinuyim. According to Rav Yitzchak Nafchal, a goy who cursed Hashem with Elokim or Shaka or Tzvakos or God, or certainly anything like that, he's potter. This argues with Ramasha. The use of Afagav Don Rabbanan Al Kinuyim Ba'asara, even as it was Asara B'Yisrael, in other words, it's only of a chorus. Mi Avikachavim Chai Misa, Mikager Kesach Kanasiv Geres or Kiser Shmaim Nalachiv Avikachavim Bikinis. Well, the Gemara is going to explain this now. So this argues with Ramasha. The Ramasha Ben Noach back in the Gemara. Ben Noach Shabirchas Hashem B'Kinuyim Rabbanan Chayev. My time. What's the reason? The pasuk says Kager Kesach. Again, that first pasuk said, not the first pasuk, the pasuk of V'nokev Shem Hashem. Mos Yumas Ragom Yigamu Bo Kol Ha'eda Kager Ke'ezrach. Only a real Jew, either a convert or a Jew. Ger V'ezrach Hudi B'Nei Nikvo Shem. That they have to, you have to curse Hashem's name with Hashem's name. Avalovi Gechavam Afilu Kinui. You don't have to use Hashem's name. Nakov Yinkov is Hashem's name. But a goy, even Mekini, would be chayiv misa according to Rav Maisha. Rav Meir, who says that a goy and a Jew both are chayiv either way, right? But different in psukim. Very good. They're both killed, but the Jew is killed with skila of a chom b'sayif. Since what? Since you include a goy over here too in the mitzvah of ish of kinuyim that they're also chayiv. I think it's also for the punishment of skila kamashman that you don't say that. Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha Ali b'Rabbanan. Yitzchak says according to Rabbanan that goyim are the goyim are potter entirely from the kinuyim. Ali b'Rabbanan haike ger gezach mayav. What does they do with that? Ger gezach would have been in shem b'shem. Avakacham lo bin in shem b'shem. In other words, he says ger gezach when they curse Hashem, with Hashem's name. With Hashem's name, again, according to the way Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha interpreted the Rabbanan, he says that a Jew who cursed with Hashem's name doesn't get execution, but rather gets chorus. And a goy who cursed with kinui doesn't even get punishment, he's potter. He's only chayiv on Shem Hashem. So what does Ger Ezrach teach me? Only Ger Ezrach are chayiv and not a goy? The goy is also chayiv. The answer is a Jew is only chayiv if he cursed Hashem's name with Hashem's name, Hashem b'Shem, Shem b'Shem. Shem Hashem is chayiv anyway. Ish lamali. Now, what does ish teach me? According to Rabbanan, both according to Rav Meir and according to Rav Yitzchak Nafcha, the Rabbanan say that the kinuyim are potter. So, what does ish teach me? And the guy doesn't add the guy either. Sam didn't add anything over there. Rashi points out 3 lines from the bottom of the page in Rashi. Ish lamali bein Rav Meir Yitzchak Nafcha ali b'Rabbanan birkas Hashem mitzav Hashem by the guy Nafka kinuyim miger ve'ezrach. Right, is learned Gerzach Nafka Rav Moshe, right? That Kinuyim Chai Ger, Vila Rav Yitzchak Nafka Amar Rabbanan Ptura. Yitzchak says according to Rabbanan Pater, according to Rav Moshe, according to Rav Moshe in the Rabbanan, Ger ve'ezrach Nafka. Learn out that Ger ve'ezrach again. What did Rav Moshe say? What is Ger ke'ezrach? Ger ve'ezrach who to be in the Kashem of a Kachav Mafilu B'Kinoi is Chayev. So according to Ramesha, that the Rabbanan say you're really more machmir. He's more machmir. So what does ish teach me? He's not teaching me that. Not teaching me anything there. The answer is the Lashon Torah spoke that way. Now, once we mentioned that a goy is chayiv on birkas Hashem, basically we refer to the pasuk of Vayitzav Hashem Elokim, and then according to Rav Meir and Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha. That according to Rav Meir, he's chayiv even on a kinui, and according to Rav Yitzchak Nafcha, say you're potter on a kinui, but Rav Meir shows that the Ben Noach is chayiv on a kinui, right? The kinui chayiv. So, fine. So a guy is chayiv in these cases. He's certainly chayiv in the basic idea of cursing Hashem's name with Hashem's, even if it's not Shem b'Shem, but he's chayiv for cursing Hashem's name. Whether he's chayiv on a kinui, okay, that's a machlokas over here, but he's certainly chayiv for cursing Hashem's name. So that's one of the side mitzvahs enough. So here we're going to get into the discussion about Zayin mitzvahs Menach. Tan Rabbanan in the Gemara, 2 lines from the bottom of the page. Tan Rabbanan, Sheva mitzvos, Nitzav B'nai Noach. They were commanded 7 mitzvahs. Dinim, the first thing, set up courts. Courts with laws, social laws. Because Hashem, don't curse Hashem. Avodah Zarah, they can't do Avodah Zarah. Gilei Arayos, of course, adultery, Shvichas murder, Gezel, stealing, even Menachai. Those are the 7 mitzvahs B'nai Noach. And we'll see where they're learned out from. The Gemara is going to say, Rav Chananya ben Gamliel Omer, Afal Adam Menachai, even dam of a chai. It's all going to be learned out later on. We'll see all the version for this. Not only, in other words, even dam is also there's an 8th one. Rav Chit Gomer Afal Asiris. He says even for castration. Also, we'll see later on what about castration of animals, etc. But certainly for castration of people, that's another mitzvah b'nei Noach. Shimon Amar Afal Kishiv, even for sorcery. Rabbi Yossi Amar Kol Omer Parshas Kishiv. All the things that were said in Parshas Kishiv, right? All that Jews shouldn't do, Ben Noach also is commanded not to do. How do we know? Because the pasuk says in Dvarim, Lo yimotzei b'cha, it should not be found among you Jews. Maver b'no b'eish, you shouldn't pass your kids through fire. They did that. Kosim Samim, doing magic, Ma'onein, Menachesh, these are all kinds of black magic and sorcery, etc. We'll discuss the details of Machashet, V'chover Chover, Shol Yidoni, to ask of Yidoni from bones, etc., skulls, the Dor Shalom Mesim, talking to the dead. And don't do, it tells, the pasuk there tells Jews shouldn't do that. And then it says, because of these abominations that the Goyim did, therefore Hashem is throwing them out and you're taking over their land. Now, if Hashem threw them out because of these sins, it must have been that they were forbidden to do those things. Hashem wouldn't have punished them by tossing them out of Eretz Yisrael testing them out of the land unless they were commanded not to do it. So you see the Goyim were commanded on all these things too. Not only the basic cursing Hashem or Avodah Zarah, the basic Avodah Zarah, but even all these other kinds of magic and things like that also they were commanded to do. Rabbi Lazar Omer, Afal Klein. They were even commanded not to mix different breeds. Now, what do we mean that? That means mixing animals together, crossbreeding animals, or crossbreeding trees, right? They're only but they're not also, for example, in shatnez, things like that, right? So he says there were also mutar. I'm sorry, but I skipped a line. Afal klaim mutar b'nei noach lubosh klaim. They're allowed to wear klaim clothing. Raw klaim and to plant seeds that are mixed. You can mix oranges and apples and things like that. They simply can't crossbreed animals. Okay, that's what's also. So we see that they had a basic 7 plus others added on. Where do we get it from? Amar B'Yochanan, number one pasuk says, one pasuk. Vayishav Hashem l'kem aram leimor mikol eitzagon achol tochel. Vayitzav elu dinim. That tells you to make courts with laws, of course. V'cheinu omer ki yedativ. I know Avram Avinu l'man yitzav es bonav achrav, right? Lasos mishpat utstaka, or tztaka mishpat, whatever the pasuk says there. So you see that the lashon of tzav refers to judgments, courts, having laws. Hashem zu birkas Hashem. Chenu omer pasuk no give shem Hashem mos yumas. Okay, Hashem no give shem. No give pasuk says no give shem Hashem. So when it says Hashem in Bereshis, also means cursing God. Chas v'chalila. Elokim zu avodas kachavim. That refers to avodas zarah. Chenu omer lo yelecha Elohim acherim. Right. So you see, Elohim refers to other gods. So that means that you shouldn't worship other gods. That's avodah zarah. Allah Adam. Right, that Adam, what does it mean? Allah Adam, Zushvichas Dam, Chenu Omer Shofech Dam Ha Adam. So Adam refers to murder. Can't do murder. Right? Lamor, it says Vayisaf Hashem Elokim Al Adam Lamor. Lamor Zugli, that refers to adultery. The Chanan Pasuk says in Tanakh, Lamor saying, Hey Yishlach Yisas Yishto. Man sends away his wife, Aholcha, me to go from him. She's going to commit adultery with somebody else. So you see, Lamor refers to adultery. Nikol Eitzagan. From any trees in the garden below Gezel. Only what I'm telling you, you can have from this garden, but not somewhere else. Achol tochel, eat it if it's ready for you to eat, like an apple. Take it off the tree and eat it. Below over Menachai, where it's not ready for you to eat, the animal's still walking around. So that's how you get the 7 mitzvah enoch. Ki also Rabbi Yitzchak came Tani Ipchilon the other way around. By Yitzav, it's not referring to what? To dinim, but rather that's avodah zarah. Elokim. Zuadin, and that refers to dinim. So Bishlam Elokim Zuadin and the Nikra Balabais Elohim. The Balabais will come to the court. So you see Elohim refers to court. Elevate Tzav. Where does you get that Tzav first of us? Or my mashma. So if Chisrav Yitzchak Babdi Michad Omer Sor Mahem and Aderech Asher Tzif Isim Asulem Egel Masecha. So you see over here Men Aderech Asher Tzibisim refers to Avodah Zarah, right? Because Vayitzav Avodah Zarah, as they went away from the Hashem told Moshe, "Sorry, ma'am, Masolim Egel Masecha." The Charamer pasuk says again. A pasuk in Trail says, "Ashok Ephraim. Ephraim is oppressed by the Goyim. Ratzutz Mishpat. He's broken in judgment. Ki hoel holach acher tzav, because he went acher tzav. So what does that mean? He followed avodah zarah. The tzav here refers to avodah zarah. He's broken because he followed avodah zarah. So you see that the lashon of tzav is avodah zarah either from Minatzor Medech Shetzivisim, or from this pasuk Kihoel, because he can't holach achar tzav. What's the difference which pasuk you learn it from? Ikibenayu Hakam avodah zarah. She'asa avodah zarah v'lo shtachvula. Nafkamina would be, let's say a guy made avodah zarah, but he didn't bow down to it. Leman da'omer asu mishas asiyah. It says asu lahem meidel masecha. As soon as they made it, they're chayiv. Okay, so according to this, if he made avodah zarah, he's chayiv already, because you see, based on a pasuk of asu lahem meidel masecha, even if they didn't bow down. Mandomer ki hoel holach, that he began to go after avodah zarah adoz basra, until he went after the polachla and worshipped it. Omer Rava umiki lemandomer avodah zarah she'asa avodah zarah or akim she'avodah zarah avodah god an idol she'asa avodah zarah v'lo shtachvul chayiv. Can anybody say if you made an avodah zarah but you didn't worship it, you're not chayiv? Nobody says that you're not chayiv. But time we learn avodah zarah dvarim shebezdin shel Yisrael mamisun aleh. When it comes to avodah zarah, if bezdin of Yisrael would kill somebody for worshiping it, that would kill a Jew for worshiping it, ben Noach Musrle, then a ben Noach is prohibited from doing that. Ain Bezin Shal Yisrael and Misa, but Bezin wouldn't kill for doing it. Ain ben Noach Musrle. It's like the Jewish people would sell idols outside the Vatican. They were always Jewish. They were always Jewish merchants there. The Jews made idols, but they weren't really idols. Not for them. Just making it doesn't do it unless you worship it. Ain Bezin Shal Yisrael Misa. Ain ben Noach, but then the guy's not prohibited from doing that. Lemute, why? What does it come to exclude? Lav lemute, avodah zarah, shavodah zarah. Avodah zarah is also avodah zarah. To exclude an idol that was made, avodah zarah. So you see over here that, and if a Jewish court would not kill a Jew for doing this, meaning just making it, then it certainly wouldn't, a guy wouldn't be responsible for it. A guy also wouldn't be prohibited from it. Amar Papa Lo, lemute gifo phenishik. No, you know what it's come to exclude? A Jew would not be killed for hugging, for embracing or kissing avodah zarah if he didn't bow down to it. If that's the normal way to worship the avodah zarah, of course, that's the normal way you worship it. Is in some places, some avodah zarahs you worship it by bowing down, some by embracing it, some by kissing it, some by defecating in front of it, some by markulis. Remember throwing the stones at it, So if that's the way to do it, then you deserve death. Elamute shelo kedarka. So it comes to exclude if you embraced it or kissed it, shelo kedarka. So it's not referring to making, it's referring to if you did avodah zarah, you didn't really do avodah zarah. You embraced it, but that wasn't the normal way to do it. So therefore, you could say ein chanami that the nafkamina would be making avodah zarah. In other words, if you made avodah zarah, it's coming to exclude if you embrace it. But ein chanami, if you made an avodah zarah, if a guy made avodah zarah, maybe tak would be chayav. Okay, dinin says the Gemara, dinin b'nei noach. If good, were courts really? Where the goyim really, b'nei noach, were really commanded to make courts. That's from b'nei noach. What time we learn? Listen carefully. Esher mitzvahs sav Yisrael b'mara. 10 mitzvahs we just had in last week's parsha, right? They came tomorrow. There were 10 mitzvahs that they were commanded there. Shevesh kiblu b'nei noach. 7, which are the 7 b'nei noach, where they were kaval. Those are the 7 basic mitzvahs b'nei noach. V'osifa alei. And by the way, the 7 mitzvahs b'nei noach apply to all people in the world today too. We're all b'nei noach. V'osifa alei, and they added on an 8th, 9th, and 10th. The dinin, Shabbos, and kibbut ava'in. They added them on. So what do you see? If they added on number 8 was dinin, then it could have been one of the 7. How can you say that dinin, courts, was one of the first 7? It says they were commanded 10 mitzvahs in Mara, the basic 7 of Bnei Noach, plus dinin, Shabbos, and Kavayim. In the dinin dechsiv, it says over there, we had this pasuk just now in Beshalach, Sham samlo chokom mishpat v'sham nisau, right? Sham samlo chokom mishpat, that's where you had to make courts and make laws. Shabbos kibbut dechsiv, it says, in Vaschanan, it says, by Shabbos and there by Kibbutz Tzivich it says Hashem commanded you back before. They were commanded there. So that's our question. Our question is, how can you say that it's one of the 7 mitzvahs Noach if it's really number 8? I'll tell you what was added on. The basic din was there already before. What was added on in Mara was the idea that you have to have an Eidoy member. For a court of capital court, you have to have 10 people, 10 to be mechayev. You have to have at least 10, so 10 could be mechayev, 10 could find in potter, and then it shouldn't be in bezin shakol. You come out with 23. Ella aid. So that's what you need, and you need Adam, and you need Asra, because by Ben Noach you don't need that. 1 aid is good enough, and 1 judge is good enough. You don't need 23 judges for a capital case, and you don't need 2 Adam. Maybe that was added on. So Yochi might be Sifal and done it. It shouldn't. So what do you mean Sifal and Dinan? Sifal and Dinan means that the 8th one was basically the courts, according to what you're saying. It's Dinan it just says Ela mitzvahs dayana. You're just talking about how the court should rule. They should rule with Ada and Adam and Asra. But Hosif and Dinan sounds like you added on the whole concept of courts. That's not a good answer. El Marav They added on Canadian Knesset, which is not regular Dinan. So that should be number 8. Then it should say they added on to more judges. It should have said they added on some more things which aren't regular cases of profit and loss and chayiv and potter knasim, which are above beyond the regular chiyuv. It should say they added on in the dinim. They added on more things. The dinim Davi Mashber Sosif Rashi says Beilchas dinim shenestaf lein kfar, the dinim that they had already. They added on the dinim that they had more. They added on knasos, which but the words Hosif and Dayan and Dinan sounds like they added on courts. The answer is that they added on the basic idea of courts was already among the first seven, based on either Vayitzav, as we said before, or Elohim. But the basic idea of courts was set up. What was added on in Mara? We said number 8 was Dinim. That's they have to set up a court in every state, in every county, in every city. What are you saying? So that was added on to the Goyim. The Bnei Noach didn't have that. Bnei Noach had basic mishpat. But the Jews added on that they had to have courts in every city. And Goyim didn't have to have that. Just like Jews had to have a court in every city, in every locality, right? Goyim also had to do that. So you can't say that was number 8. El Marava, Hi Tana Darvinashi, you're right. So you can't come out and say that the dinim over here, number 8, is that you had to have in each and every city, because the Goyim had that rule too. So we're back to our original question. How could you say that dinim was among the Zayin mitzvahs Noach? We have a brisa which says that there were Eser mitzvahs that commanded in Mara, besides the basic 7, and they added on. Number 8 was dinim. But dinim was also written, that was actually number 1. Elam Marava, Haitana de Menashe. The one who says over here, this business about Mara, and they added on dinim, was a different Tana. It doesn't learn the Zayin mitzvahs like we learned them, like the first Tana we had. He takes out dinim and Birkas Hashem from the original Zayin mitzvah, and he puts in Sach, which refers to Sirus, which refers to castration, Vikalayim. We mentioned over here, Sirus and Kalayim on this page at the top of the page. He puts in those among the 7. So there's a machlokus, basically, what are the basic Zayin? Now, we of course we hold like the first opinion, but Tana ben Asher learned that the Zayin mitzvah do not include dinim, do not include courts, and do not include Birkas Hashem. It includes only Sach. Now, according to that, the whole Gemara Amud Aleph, all these different opinions about the Goyim having the rules of Bnei Noach, right? Whether they're chayiv in the kinui also, etc. That whole discussion wouldn't work according to Tana ben Asher. The Tana ben Asher, Shev mitzvahs na Bnei Noach. He tells you here are the 7 according to the Tana ben Asher, different 7. What are they? Avodah Zarah, Gili Arosh, Shvichas Domim, Gezel Avram and Achai, Sirus and Klaim. He tells you these are the 7. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Adam Arishon, and Stava, Ella, Al Avodah Zarah, Bolvad. The Adam Arishon, before, remember, Bnei Noach means from Noach and on. But Adam Arishon only had one mitzvah, Avodah Zarah, Shem, Vayitzav Hashem Elokim ala Adam. Basically, he says, Atzav Hashem Elokim ala Adam, meaning telling you, Rashi says, Vayitzav Hashem Elokim es Elokuso tziveh. I am God. Don't mix me up with anybody else. Don't exchange me for anybody else. Atzav Hashem Elokim. I am God. Nobody else is God. So Adam Rishon only had the one mitzvah, according to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, Afal Birkas Hashem. He was Adam Rishon also had the mitzvah of cursing, right? Because that's also from Elokim. Then after me Elokim, Elokuso tziva shelo yikalu. Keep my godliness intact. Don't curse me. Some say that he also had a third one. Even Adam Rishon, who didn't have Zayin mitzvah Bnei Noach, but he had Avodah Zarah, he had Birkas Hashem, and he had also courts, right? Based on Elokim, right? The word Elokim also refers to courts, as we said before. Right after the enemy Elokim nafka. Okay. Fear me, etc., and follow my rules. You have to have courts. Kaman Oslo Hodet Amar Rav. Who does the following go like? Rav Rav said, Elokimani, I am God, don't curse me. Elokimani, I am God, don't exchange me for anybody else. Don't know Avodah Zarah. Elokimani, my fear should be of you. Kaman Yeshom, like the Yeshom who say that Adam Rishon had, when Hashem said, Vayitzav Hashem Elokim ala Adam Leimor. So he had those 3 things. He had number 1, you can't Avodah Zarah, Avodah Zarah and Birkas Hashem and Dinim, right? In other words, all 3 things. Don't curse me, don't exchange me, that's Avodah Zarah. Don't curse me is what's called Luni. And ultimately, you should have proper judgments, proper courts. Now, Tana de Menashe, Imor, Idorsh, Vayitzav. Now, let's understand. We explained before how the pasuk Vayitzav Hashem had the first 7 mitzvahs Bnei Noach. Tana ben Menashe took out 2 and added on Sirus and Kalayim. Now, Tana ben Menashe, the Gemara asks, Idorsh Vayitzav, if he does Vayitzav the way we dash for, Afil Nacham, he should include also what? Dinan and Birkas Hashem. Ilo Darsh Vayitzav, if he doesn't dash Vayitzav, Hani Manoli, how does he know these others? How does he know these 7? How does he know the 7? If he doesn't dash Vayitzav, how does he get the 7 Bechlal? He learns a different 7. 5 are the same, 2 different. But how does he know 7? He says, Lo Olam Lo Darsh, he doesn't dash Vayitzav. Hani kochad v'chad ba'pei nafshi ksiva. You know what he says? These 7 that he darshans, starting with Avodah Zarah and ending with Klayim, are all based on different psukim. Hani ba'pei nafshi ksiva. Avodah Zarah v'Gilei Arayos. How do we know those two? The first two, Avodah Zarah and Gilei Arayos, right? Those were the first two. Tanad Bei Menashe. Where you're talking about Avodah Zarah gives the first two. Dichsiv at the top of Nun Zayin, the top of Nun Zayin. Dichsiv it says Vatishachesa Or Safei Elokim. They acted destructively, like they acted badly. Wherever it says lashon of destruction, it always refers to adultery and avodah zarah. Dvar erev it says ki hishchas kol basar estarko, right? Flesh, they destroyed their flesh again by committing adultery. Avodah come to say pentash chisun dasisim lechem pesel tumunaskol somel tavnit sachar onekeva, right? Pentash chisun pesel, you make an avodah zarah. Okay, now. So therefore, he says, if they Elokim, what do you mean? They acted destructively. If they weren't commanded not to do avodah zarah and adultery, why are they considered destructive? If you tell me it's okay to murder, so why if I murder is it not good? It says you acted destructively, must be because I was since they were punished for that and they acted destructively, they weren't killed, etc. In the Mabul, obviously they were commanded not to do that stuff. You can't tell somebody that it's that you're being punished for something if you didn't have a law against that. Okay, so therefore, what about the Tanakama, who didn't learn it based on that? He's just telling you this is what happened. In other words, the one who learned out from the Yitzav, not from Batisha Chesa Aretz, from the one over Yitzav, he's just telling you, this is what happened. You know, he just said, this is what happened. He's just exposing why the people in the Dor Mabul were killed. Number 3, Shvichas Damim. How do you know Shvichas Damim is also from Neinach? If Shofech Dama Adam, if you spill somebody's blood, you're going to be killed. All right, so there's this, so there. What about the ones who are Yitzav? It's telling you, how do you kill them? How do you kill the person who murders? What's his punishment? What did we say before? Ben Noach is killed via Hereg, Sayef, decapitation. So he's telling you, Shofech Dam Adam, but Adam Damo Yishafech, his blood will be spilled too. If you murder somebody, your blood will be spilled via decapitation. That's what Dam. That pasuk is not teaching you that it's usher to commit murder. That pasuk we already know. We already know that from where? From Ha'adam, the word Adam itself. Shofech Dam Adam B'Damo Yishafech is teaching me that his execution is via decapitation. Gezel D'chsiv Kerek Esim Lasati Lechem Eskol. I've given you, eat whatever you want out here, like the vegetables out in the herbage. Only like Esav, only like what's like free, growing free, that it's hefker, not like the eric of a garden which belongs to somebody. So that's the of Gezel. How about the one who learned it out from the Yitzav, the Tanakama who learned out Gezel from where? Where was the Gezel there from? Let's go back. And from 8 Sagan below Gezel. 8 Sagan, again, it's gone from the Gan, no Gezel. This is already speaking about, but this pasuk is not by Adam. This is already speaking about, we're talking about by Noach. And it says over there, Kerek Esav, I've given you to tell you that you can eat anything you want like Kerek Esav. Why? Because Adam, Arishon, was forbidden to eat animals, right? He says for him it was only mutter to eat fruits and vegetables and trees, things like that, things that grew naturally, grass, things like that. He was allowed to, but he wasn't allowed to eat basar, right? It says basar. But now by Noach, he was told, "Oh, I've given you everything." Kierek Esav Nasatil Chazkol. That's what the ones who learn out the issue of Gezel from the word from before from Eitz Hagan. We call Eitz Hagan. And now that's what Adam was told. Noach was told, everything is free to you, even animals. How does it says, a basar, when there still has nefesh in it, meaning when the animal's still alive, you shouldn't eat that. What is the one to learn out from Yitzav, that Aver Manachai is also based on a chol tochel, eat it when it's ready, not stuff which isn't ready. What is to allow you to eat shrutzim, because shrutzim don't have nefesh. In other words, their blood and their skin is not separated. Sirus, How does he know castration? The sieve, Shiur tzubaras ruva, right? Multiply, be fruitful and multiply. You can't do that if you're castrated, right? So that's what that Sirius is also. What about the Tana learns of Vayitzav? What does he learn out from Shiur tzubaras ruva? Be fruitful and multiply. It's just a bracha. It's not telling you not to castrate. Kalayim, how do you know Kalayim is also to Bnei Noach according to the Tana de Menashe? It says Mea ofleminehu, right? Keep each species by itself according to its species. Vahu, the idach, the one learned from Yitzav, he doesn't say that Sirius is also, let's say, by a Kalayim of an animal, let's say. He doesn't learn that pasuk. Holitzav is just telling you when you go into the Teva, take take a bird and take its own species. So each species will have with whom to mate. He's only telling you for them. He's not telling you that you can't forbid. He's not forbidding mixed breeding. Amar Rav Yosef, just the last line. Amar Beirav, they said in the yeshivas, al shalosh mitzvahs b'nei Noach. Even though we learned that 7 mitzvahs b'nei Noach and they're killed for all of them, here we have an opinion that also says that Bnei Noach are only killed for 3 of the mitzvahs. What are they? Here's the Gesher Simon, Gilia Royas, Shvichas Damim, and Birkas Hashem. Only on those 3 are Goyim killed, not on the other ones. Tomorrow's more, we'll pick it up from here. Now, I won't be here for the next 2 days. Won't be here Wednesday and Thursday. I'm going away, and I'll be back Friday. So Daf Nun Zayin and Daf Nun Ches will be on the podcast and on Kol HaLashon. And on Friday, Emir Hashem, the next time we learn, we'll pick it up on Daf Nun Tes from the second line. Omer Rabbi Yochanan, the second line on Daf Nun Tes. Have a good day, Shavuot.